All right. Hello, everyone. This is Nael Shahbaz from InvoZone, and this is InvoNews podcast. And today, my guest is Kostantinos Faliagkas. I tried not to do that, but I'm going to do it. Kind of acceptable.
Yeah. The short version is Costas. That makes it easier for foreigners to pronounce it.
Kostas. So why don't you go ahead and explain the concept of wealth building apps for our audience?
Yeah, that's a great question to start with because Wealthyhood is a wealth building app. So wealth building is the process of systematically investing your savings in regular intervals with a long-term focus in your investments. I would put it ignoring the market fluctuations and the ups or downs that may happen in between. So it's essentially the opposite of trading to make a short-term profit. And instead you focus on creating your portfolio, deciding on the amount you want to invest monthly and sticking to that plan over 10, 15 or 20 years with a focus on growing your wealth regardless of what has happened in between. Obviously, your portfolio may change over time. You may add or remove assets, but your focus is on a more long-term perspective.
But can you actually day trade using these apps?
You mean the wealth building apps?
Yes.
You could. Well, depends on the app. So most of those. So first of all, unfortunately, the majority of investing apps are not really wealth building apps. The majority of investing apps are just different versions of Robinhood. So those are not really wealth building apps. When it comes to wealth building, some apps may allow you to do that, but the majority of them don't even allow intraday trades. So if you want to day multiple times within the day, you cannot do that. When it comes to trading, that doesn't mean that you have to trade intraday. You can be trading day to day. Obviously, you can utilize those apps in that way, but in most cases, the experience is not built in a way that encourages you to do that and makes it harder. And if you're a trader, you need different tools, and those apps don't offer that. They put you in a different mindset, and the experience is oriented into handling your investments in a different way.
Right. How technologies like AI, ML, and big data are transforming the investment landscape? And do you think that these technologies can save people from losing their money? And I want to bring in the human psychology factor, and kind of goes back to this same question of day trading, because then there's sudden urge to kind of the churn, or just what's it called? I have a tip that I can leverage, I can beat the market. So there's a sudden urge. Do you think that preventive measures in wealth building apps using these technologies can prevent this human urge to actually destroy their portfolio?
Okay, that's a very interesting conversation. So if we utilize those technologies, machine learning, for example, to say that we're going to predict whether the markets are going to go up or down and make a profit, I don't think this is going to end up well. No one can predict the market, and when it comes to doing that, things can be very tricky. So I don't think this is the kind of utilization of those technologies that will revolutionize the investment landscape. But the way I think they will revolutionize it is by enabling us to create more personalized experiences. And let me explain that. As a generation, we're used to having personalization in different aspects of our everyday life. When it comes to shopping, when it comes to watching a movie, when it comes to listening to music. However, when it comes to investing and managing our finances, the current solutions look more like a one-size-fits-all. But different people have different investment preferences, different goals, and different values. So we shouldn't all end up with the same portfolio. So I think that the future of investing is personalized, and I think that future will be enabled by those technologies. Now, regarding the second part of the question about whether those technologies are gonna prevent people from losing money, I don't think it's a matter of technology. I think it's a matter of the end user experience. that we create. If we create a user experience that incentivizes people to trade, this is what they're going to do. If we create a user experience that incentivizes people to grow their wealth over time and have a more rational mindset when it comes to their investments, then people are going to act accordingly. So I think it's a matter of user experience and not technology.
Right. So my question is, you said it's not the way that one size fits all. That's not the way to go. It's personal preferences, the way you watch a movie or choose a particular food or music. The goal of investing, shouldn't it be to get a return or to make a profit, regardless of where you invest in? So if I don't even like Coca-Cola, my investment manager, even if it's through a wealth app like yours, it says, hey, you should invest in Coca-Cola, it's recommended, and I don't like Coke. Then what do? I'm like, no, I do not like this company, or objective robot or algorithm is telling me it's a good opportunity.
Yeah, so actually, first of all, I don't think we're anywhere close to having robots saying this is a good opportunity, because as I said before, when it comes to predicting the markets, things can be very tricky. Otherwise, everyone would be rich. But when it comes to getting returns, what makes sense, and we should be utilizing technologies for that, is for you to understand how adding a specific stock to your portfolio may potentially impact your investments. How could that impact the risk of your portfolio? How could that impact the potential returns? Does it fit in well with the rest of your investments? For example, you may have invested in different ETFs where Coca-Cola is already a part of. So in that case, it doesn't make sense to add more money to that specific company. So I think those technologies are going to be more useful in terms of helping you construct your portfolio and have the final say on what you want to add or remove, and provide you with the tools to do that. It's not going to be utilizing it in a way to predict whether your portfolio is going to go up or down.
Okay. Do you use AI in your app? And if you do, in what way? How does it actually help the customers?
Yeah, so we don't use AI, but we use many mathematical models. And we use those mathematical models in different parts of the investment journey. We use it to make it easier for you to create your first portfolio. We use it for you to help you understand how your wealth will grow over time, given the portfolio that you have selected, or how any potential changes that you make may impact your investments. And we do that in a way that we absorb all the complexity that those mathematical models have, and we provide you with only the necessary information in a very simplified and easy to digest way, so that you make the final decision. This is how we leverage that technology.
Do you think AI is not that important, or is it too expensive? I'm talking about imagine the biggest financial advisory firm. Do you think they use AI or they don't? Or is it like not required? It's not necessary. What do you think?
Okay, so AI is important, but if you're a fund manager that has managed to create an AI model that outperforms the markets, then chances are that you're going to use that model for yourself. Otherwise, everyone would be rich. Many machine learning models are used for trading, but unfortunately, most of those models don't outperform the markets, don't outperform the S&P 500. So I'm not saying that as a technology is not useful. I'm saying that chances are that you don't need it.
Okay, all right, makes sense. Tell me, what was going through your mind when you first came up with the idea of Wealthyhood? Like, what was the main purpose? Is it just another wealth management app, or was it like, hey, I have a USP, this is how I'm going to make it stand out?
Yeah, so When we started Wealthyhood, we had in mind to answer to that one question that every one of our friends had. How do I get started with investing? Where do I invest? The current solutions were looking more like a robo-advisor one, where you have a selection of 5 pre-made portfolios, and people were not interested in putting their money there. They had no say in the whole investment process. Or it was an investment app with thousands of stocks to invest in, and people had no idea how to get started. So our goal was to create an experience that made it very easy for those people to get started and make their first investments while they had created a complete, well-diversified portfolio. This was the idea. This is why we started Wealthhood. And over the last few months, we have iterated a lot on that experience to make it better. And we're now at the point that we receive very good feedback from our users. We're still very early as a product. We're not where we want to be, but we're happy with the feedback we receive.
How does it start? Like, how do you onboard people? Like, you ask their age, their demographic, the personal wealth, the savings, or how much money they can risk. Do you ask these questions and build a profile? And how does it? Just kind of walk me through your app.
Yeah, so the onboarding process is actually quite different. We don't ask those questions that the typical digital wealth manager would ask, because we don't provide advice. Instead, as a DIY platform, we help you create your portfolio. And because the portfolio creation process is a very crucial part of the process and part of our value proposition, we have focused a lot on building a great experience on that. And the way it looks like is that we first start by understanding what are the things that you want to invest in. So let's see how that looks. What are the asset classes you want to invest in? Do you want stocks, bonds, commodities, or real estate? And then there's a question about the geographies. Do you want to invest in the US market, or you want to get global exposure? And finally, it's the sectors and industries that you're interested in. So for example, me, I'm interested in tech stocks. Other people may be interested in healthcare or financials. So those are your investment preferences. Once we know those preferences, we provide you with an initial template that gives you exposure to the different choices that you made. You can add or remove assets on the top of that template. And so you have concluded to the selection that you want to put money in. Now, at that point, the question is, okay, let's say I have 1,000 pounds to invest in. How do I know whether I'm going to put 100 or 200 pounds to S&P 500? So there's the question of how am I going to allocate my money? And at that point, we ask you about the risk that you want your portfolio to have. And once you've made the selection, we run some optimization algorithms. We provide you with an initial allocation based on that selection. If you're happy with it, you just go and create your portfolio. Otherwise, you can modify that allocation so that, for example, you may want to get higher exposure to a specific ETF. And you have full say and flexibility throughout that process. And so it's a process that takes 2 or 3 minutes, and that's it. You create your first portfolio.
Okay, sounds good. My next question is kind of a detailed one. I'm just going to read it. Right now, Wealthyhood has many features like intelligent investment, personalized portfolio. In short, you have brought the best of both worlds. Now, the modern trading apps and robo-advisors to create the dynamic DIY platform. So what's next? How are you going to make it more technologically advanced? Or what do you think should be added to your app?
Yeah, as I said, we're still early as a product. So there's lots of things coming up in the following months. Comparing to the majority of investment apps out there, we take a more holistic portfolio approach. We didn't create an experience to help you find the next stock to buy or to trade, but we take the portfolio in the center of every action you make. So at the moment, we're working on adding many automations on how you manage that portfolio, how you easily top up every month, how you automatically rebalance to keep the risk of your portfolio adjusted. And we're also doing lots of work on the guidance side of things, with all the insights and tools that provide you with assistance on understanding how any change you make to your portfolio may potentially impact your investments. So lots of automations and guidance.
Can you tell me what's your ideal user behavior is? For example, I have a certain amount of money. I'm like, hey, I want to get started with the stock market or whatever. I download your app. I have a day job, and how often do you think I need to log into your app? How many times do you need to notify me? Or is it just like, hey, first I just set my portfolio. It's a long-term one. I just need to check it once a month, maybe twice a year or something. So just walk me through it. Or is it every person is different? So you cannot just categorize it.
Well, first of all, every person is different. But in terms of the ideal use case, I think it's once you join the app, you create your first portfolio, you decide on the amount you want to be investing monthly, you decide on how frequently you want to rebalance, and then you may potentially make changes every once a month or twice. You may be adding or removing a couple of assets. But mostly your portfolio will be remaining unchanged, and it's something that you may change, as I said, once every month. Now, it's one thing how frequently you make changes to your portfolio. It's another thing how frequently you may be checking the app to see how your investments are performing, or reading the learning material that we have and we're uploading all the time, or reading more about the news related to your investments. So it's one thing to come into the app and check your investments frequently. It's another thing how frequently you change your portfolio.
Do you get the urge to actually bombard the user with buy? Because I have experiences. You download an app, they're give you all the incentives to just press the buy button. By the way, another question following that, is it just like a portfolio that shows you where your money stands, or does it actually trade with the different exchanges through your app?
You mean to automatically make trades for you?
Yes.
So it's an investment app that you can place the investments to the stock market.
All right.
But there's no like automatic rules that it's gonna automatically make the trades for you, providing that some algorithm runs on the background. However, having said that, once you create your portfolio and you place the investment, if you decide to have automatic rebalancing every 3 months, as the allocation changes, then we're going to automatically rebalance that portfolio for you. So we're going to make all the trades required to bring the portfolio to the initial target allocation that you have set. But it's not like we're running some AI algorithm and we're going to be managing that portfolio for you. It's your portfolio, your investments, and it's just some rules and automations running on the top of that.
Okay. There are some big names in the market like Acorn, Stash, there's the US, and then Nutmeg and Free Trade in UK, and eToro, that's also in UK, I think. I want to know how Wealthyhood is different in terms of technology and user experience.
Yeah, so those companies that you mentioned fall into 2 categories. The one category is the robo-advisors. Robo-advisors are just, they're like the traditional wealth managers, but in a digital way. They offer a selection of 5 pre-made portfolios, and depending on your risk, they fit you in one of those portfolios. There is no flexibility in the process, and you cannot customize that selection, which is bad for the user. It's not what the user wants, actually. And there's the other category that offers full flexibility, the likes of Free Trade or eToro. They offer full flexibility throughout that process. They provide you with thousands of stocks, but they make it hard for you to get started and build a complete, well-diversified portfolio. So this is where Wealthyhood comes in, because we provide the best of those 2 worlds. And we make it very easy for you to create a complete, well-diversified portfolio. You have full say in the process. It's fully flexible, fully personalized to you, and we provide you with all the tools and insights to guide you throughout that process and the whole investment journey.
What do the tools look like, actually? So how do you guide the first timers who just want to experience the stock market for the first time? How do you guide them?
Yeah.
Are there video tutorials or just pop-up notifications? How does that work?
We actually do it through a hands-on approach. So this affects different parts of the investment journey. Let's say that we speak about the portfolio creation process, which looks similar to what I mentioned before. So through that hands-on approach, as you construct your portfolio, we walk you through, okay, what are the asset classes you want to invest in, the geography, the sectors, understanding how a selection of risk is going to affect the allocation, how changing the allocation may end up to a different risk, providing you with simulations about how the final selection you've made can grow over the next 20 or 30 years for a specific investment amount that you've set, things like that. You can think of it like a continuous feedback process on every action you make that provides you with insights, simplified insights to understand what that means for your portfolio.
Okay. Tell me, how do you make sure Wealthyhood is visible? How do you market it? Do you advertise it? Do you rely on organic search to be discovered by people? What are you doing in terms of branding or promoting it? Other than being on this podcast?
Well, being on this podcast is one of the organic ways that we use, but we're leveraging both paid and organic ways. The one is the paid campaigns that we run on Google and Facebook, and we also have organic ways. So in terms of the organic ones, we have a very strong presence on social media where we post daily educational content for people regarding investing and markets. And aside of the daily content we post on social media, we also recently launched a Growth Intern program. So Growth Interns are essentially Wealthhood ambassadors. They're mostly people active in investing and financial communities in universities. They're people that they love what we're building. And so they're spreading the word about Wealthyhood to their close network and the communities that they're active in.
That's nice. That's a good strategy. Tell me, I don't know if it's a good question or not. Did you use Matlab in any way while making its algorithms or building the app? Does it use Matlab?
In terms of the technology we're utilizing, the technologies, those mathematical models are implemented in Python. It's a very good technology with very strong libraries for implementing those algorithms and the corresponding APIs. So this is where they have been implemented.
Tell me, in terms of legally operating across the world, do you face any difficulties? Because it's an investment app. So someone from the US wants to invest through your app versus someone in Japan, because exchange rates on the same stock probably might have a difference in different exchanges. So how do you?
Different regulations.
So how do you see that?
So in fact, at the moment, given that we are early in our journey at Wealthyhood, we're currently operating only in the UK. As you already mentioned, this is a heavily regulated landscape with different regulations and compliance requirements in different countries and different parts of the world. So at the moment, we're operational in UK only, and we're working on providing access to the app in the following months to other parts of Europe as well. But in the beginning, it's going to be mostly Europe. We have lots of work ahead on going outside Europe.
Do you have a target country or a region where you think like that's where the most users are, or the most unbankable people? Sorry, the people who need to be banked or who need to get involved in the stock market. Do you have a target audience or a country?
In the beginning, we're focused in the UK, but to be honest, Southeast Europe is a very interesting market because it's very underserved in terms of access to investing apps. Most investing apps focus on the UK, Germany, Netherlands. Southeast Europe is very underserved, so it's definitely a market we're keeping an eye on.
How big is your team? the company?
Yeah, at the moment we're a team of 10.
10.
Still small.
And everything in-house, or do you engage people remotely?
Yep. We do everything in-house. Marketing, engineering, all the operational stuff, it's all in-house. We're obviously working with contractors and freelancers for different elements that we may require day to day, whatever that may be. But I would say more than 90% of the work is being done in-house.
What if you get a call 2 years later by a big bank and they're like, hey, you guys are doing pretty good and we want to buy you? Would you be interested in that? Or you're like, no, it's my precious baby?
That's always a difficult answer to give. It depends. It really depends on how that will impact the future of Wealthyhood, and whether it's something that makes sense for us at that given time, and whether it's something that makes sense for the product and for our users and the team as well. So it depends. We're always open to that. But depends on many things.
I understand. All right. Those were all the questions from my side. It was a pleasure talking to you. I honestly learned a lot. It was kind of a refresher course in robo-advisors and wealth management apps. So thank you so much for being on the podcast. Would love to have you or someone else from your team sometime again on InvoNews.
Awesome. It was a pleasure. I enjoyed speaking to you.
Same here. All right, Konstant. Thank you so much. See you again.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Bye.